So let me speak to Gen Zers here. I can't imagine what you're going through. I would hate to be in your position. When I was your age, we didn't have to deal with any of this stuff. Your life has been tough. And at the same time, in comparison, your life has been very easy. And what I mean by that is your early life as a child was very easy in some ways because everybody was rushing to, save you, protect you, et cetera, which makes your life harder now. When we fell down and went boom, our parents were like, "Oh, look who's just went boom." And they knew that would help us not cry. Right now, your parents have most likely been involved in everything. Your counselors at school have been involved in everything, and everybody is making sure that you feel great all the time, which doesn't make you feel great. You've grown up with social media, which doesn't make you feel great. You've grown up with literally the definition of narcissism, somebody gazing into the pond, looking at themselves all the time. You've had that, and this system of a self-facing cell phone has, and I don't mean this as offense because everybody has experienced this. This is not just Gen Zers, but we've become narcissists, and it's all about me, 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 me. So you've already navigated landscape that we didn't have to. You navigated landscape where nothing is true and you don't trust anybody. I wouldn't either. I don't anymore. But life is worth it. That's the first thing. Life is really tough, but it is worth it in the end. But life is not about stuff. And as a guy who's kind of a pack rat, I can tell you that none of that stuff will create happiness in your life. And I think your generation has a better handle on happiness in some ways than anybody in my generation. You're starting to realize that, hey, pharmaceuticals, maybe not as good as natural. The big, huge house, maybe not as needed as just having a smaller house and then living your life instead of having to work all the time and never going to experience it. My friends always say, "Glenn, you've worked your whole life. You should go travel the world." I can't because I'm working. And so I think you have a better balance, at least on what you want. However, there are some things that you have now been brought up to believe that are true that are not true. For instance, DEI and CRT and all of this crap, reimagining the police. There are bad police out there. There are. But when you reimagine the police in a way where no police officers want to work in your city, you get looters and squatters and riots. And that feeds on itself, especially when your politicians convince you that the right thing to do is to show compassion and say, "Oh, well, wait a minute, maybe they were disadvantaged in some way or another, and so we're not going to put any of these people in jail or hold them." And they commit crime after crime after crime, and it becomes organized crime. That's what's happening. And somebody has to pay for that. So when your Walgreens goes out of business in your neighborhood, it's harder on you. When they have to pay more for insurance because people keep robbing them, well, then everything in that store goes up in price. When politicians convince you that minimum wage should be $25 an hour, I've heard 50 lately, that means the price of your hamburger and everything else is going to go up, and so it affects you. Who pays for these things? Actions by politicians have consequences. You can't afford health care? You can't afford a house? You can't really afford even food. I understand, and that is real, and it shouldn't be that way. But give me 5 minutes, and perhaps you'll look at it in a different way so we can fix it together. I want to continue our conversation with Gen Zers that feel like it's not worth even trying to go to work because you'll never get anywhere. You can't afford. You work a full-time 40-hour week. You still can't afford a place to live. You're still living with your parents. You can't afford food. And I think they're right to feel this way. That wasn't always the case. But I want them to know that I blame a lot of it on the hippies. And that may be wrong, but I hate hippies. Hippies have been screwing things up since the 1960s. And they have been on this socialist march. And they have become everything that they said they despised back in the 1960s. They have been liars and politicians, and they have become greedy for themselves, and they just won't let go. Their time is past. But these are the people that have come up with all of these policies that now you feel like this is the way the world is. It doesn't have to be this way. And I was talking about crime, looters, squatters, riots. Somebody has to pay for that. Actions have consequences. Votes have consequences. You say you can't afford health care. I understand that. That's crazy. Crazy. My own company used to provide the best health care insurance in all of New York City and New York State. At one point after Obamacare passed, they were taxing us, Cadillac taxes. I was the only company that still carried that until the insurance company stopped carrying it. Why? Since Obamacare passed, healthcare costs have gone up 55% for the average premium. That's without inflation figured in. $13,000 to $21,000. But that's just from 2013 to 2020. That doesn't include the last 3 years. Since Biden has entered office, it's up again from $21,000 to $24,000 a year. That is an increase of 80%. But you have to remember, politicians promised that if we pass this big government program, it would mean a savings of $2,500 per family. I mean, you're in school, $2,500 savings is not the same as an 80% increase. Hospitals, your hospital stay is up 210%. I understand I can't afford health care. These costs you. Who can afford health care? Who can afford insurance? You also are starting your life thousands of dollars in debt. Your parents didn't have to have that. They didn't. You could take a job and work a job to pay for your college as you went. You can't do that now. When they took out their loans, most likely the government wasn't behind their loans. Once that happened, once the government said, you know what, we're going to guarantee all the loans. Once that happened, like healthcare, the cost of going to a university skyrocketed, and it hasn't stopped. In 1965, it was Lyndon B. Johnson who said, we're going to just guarantee. We're going to guarantee everybody's college. Don't worry about it. We'll help you with the loan. Well, once the government guaranteed it, universities found, well, we can just charge more. And they have been charging more and more. In 1965, it was $450 a year to go to college. Now, let's change with inflation. With inflation, that's $4,000 a year. You're currently paying on the average $26,000 a year, as opposed to inflation-adjusted $4,000. What happened? What happened? By the way, books, the cost of books up 155%. Gas is up. Why? Government regulations. Can't afford a house? Well, that's due to several things. Many of them revolve around the Fed and our debt. Look, you have been fed lies probably your whole life, and your parents just realized it during COVID. Okay? There's something called common sense, and hopefully you have it. Hopefully it hasn't been beaten out of you in these indoctrination camps we call schools. The U.S. government has run a debt, and we have been concerned about it forever, but they haven't been listening to your mom and dad and people like me. They haven't been listening. And a lot of people just thought, oh, well, we could get away with it, and somehow or another, it will all work out. And many of us have been saying, no, we can't pass this on to our children. And you're now seeing what we have passed on. So when you say, Generation Z, that, this is, the adults, you created this world, in some ways, yeah, you're right. You're right. We were lied to, and as many people do, they want to believe the lie because it makes them feel better. Quite honestly, it's what's happening in your generation with that's a female when it's not. It's a male, and he feels like a female. He wants to be a female, but it makes us feel better to go along with the lie because we don't want to hurt his feelings. That's the same thing that happened, except this time it was with money. We wanted to believe that we could spend all this money because honestly, it would provide you, our children, with a better life. And when anybody said, wait, we're going to have to pay this off, this is going to cost them, we never saw the consequence, and it was always way out in the future. Nobody wanted to listen to the doomsday people saying, no, it's going to come faster than you think. And that time is right now. Our government now is printing $1 trillion every 100 days. It's never been done. We have more debt than any country has ever had in the history of the world. But we're not alone. Every country is doing this. They're going into debt like we've never seen before. And we're all about to pay for that. And it's going to make your life even harder. That's why real, true constitutional conservatives, okay? And you have to understand that everything is being cut into fractions now. There are Marxists and there are decent Democrats that still believe in the Constitution and the rule of law. There are Republicans that still believe in spending all kinds of money, getting us involved in every war around. And then there are constitutional conservatives that believe that we should conserve the things that have worked, throw out the things that don't work, but we can only do those things that are allowed by our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. You haven't really learned about those most likely, but you should, because all of our problems are caused by government and the people supporting a government that will do things that are not in our Constitution. But that's what this election is really all about. And you might say, I don't really care. I don't really care. I don't like either of them. I know a lot of people don't like either of them. But one is going to try to cut the size of this government down, which is causing the problems. All of these programs, all of the things that we've said we wanted, your parents can't retire now. You have the opportunity that they didn't. They were promised, I was promised, that we could retire at 65 and we'd get Social Security and we could live off that. There's no way you could live off that. If you look at the bright side, you're paying for Social Security now, but at least you're never going to get it. I'm probably the first generation that knows we're not going to get it. We're not. It was a lie. But all of the people that are older than I am, they didn't necessarily know it was a lie. And now they're stuck. And I know people think about retirement, but honestly, especially for guys, if you retire, you generally die. There is no such thing as retirement. That doesn't mean you stay in the same job doing the same things. But you work. You work. It's something that drives you, maybe if you're lucky, by the time you're older. But man's meant to work. We have to find a way to keep the people who have been raping this country and our treasury for so many years away from you. Because if they teach you, like they taught us, that all of this stuff will work, you're only going to see much, much more pain. So we have to try to protect you so you can do your things while we, my generation, stands between you and the older generation that just have raped, robbed, and pillaged through their hippie policies. We say, stand back. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Let go. My generation should not be the one that takes the power now. Really, the younger generation, 30, 40 years old, they're the ones, because they're going to have to live with it a lot longer than I am. And the people who created it cannot fix it. But it can be fixed. You just have to learn enough about the truth about why this has happened to us. Why did we make it for so long? Longer, this Constitution lasted longer than any other Constitution in the world. The average is 17 years. This thing has lasted hundreds of years. Why? How? And why is it falling apart today? That's what you should dedicate some of your time to figuring out today. Not just complaining. You can complain. I complain. Everybody complains. But learn what caused this. And if you end up thinking that Marxism is the solution, more collectivism is the solution, then you haven't done enough homework in the past. Because that always ends the same way. And the way that starts at the end is exactly what we're going through right now.